I want to make sure we understand the basis. All right, so in general terms, we can say the function is increasing over an open interval as it rises from the left to right, correct? Yeah. Likewise for decrease, it's going to be the other way. As it on the interval, it decreases from left to right. And so when it's doing nothing, we call that constant, right? If there's no change from left to right, it is just going to be a constant situation. All right. And that's a horizontal on the intervals. Just okay. Now, when we are doing slope and increasing and decreasing aren't related necessarily. Yes. So if it's constant, that just means there's no change, and for that time period, the slope is 0. Okay. Yes. All right. So, guys. And so here we have our intervals are going to either be increasing, decreasing, or remain constant. Okay. These are formal key concepts and definitions that we have to be comfortable with for pre-cal and calculus. All right. This is the full definition of what it means to increase, what it means to decrease, and what it means to be a constant. It's just saying that from one y value to the next y value, I increase from left to right, right? From another y value to the other one, if I go down, then that's a decrease. Okay, you're analyzing the y values and how they change from left to right. Okay, that's the summary of that. We'll worry about the wording later. Just remember that you read graphs from left to right, just like you read a book from left to right, correct? Yes. Okay. So we're going to analyze this graph and talk about where it's increasing and decreasing. All right. I forgot to tell you how to get colors out, but we're going to just roll with it for right now. So we're going to highlight where green, and that's going to be our increasing intervals. So looking at this graph, where is it should be green? From this is you always define by your x value. So the x here is 0, right? So from 0 to 2 is where I'm increasing. Do we agree? Your intervals of increase and decrease are defined by your x values, not your y values. So where's our x at? 0. Where does our x stop at? 2. So our interval of increase is going to be from 0 to 2. Okay. When you're describing intervals of increase, because it's not asking where you equal, it's always going to be parentheses. I'm not saying are you. You read from left to right.
Well, where does it go up? No, if we're going left to right, this way, that's going down to there. Always upper right.
Left to right.
Oh.
So let's do. At what section is it increasing, decreasing, or constant?
Okay, the line starts here, right? Yeah. And it goes down. Yeah. But then when does it do when it goes here? It goes up. It goes up. So
that's an increase. That point, it's based off of your x, and this point right here, this is 0, -2. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do decreasing in red. So this is an interval of decrease, right? And this is an interval of decrease. Agreed? So I have 2 intervals of decrease, and I'm going to write them. So I start at -infinity, because forever to the left is what? -infinity. And I'm coming from -infinity, and I stop where?
Stop at -2.
I stop at 0. It's all defined by the x. Okay. And then where else do I decrease at?
From 5 to 8 or 5 to infinity.
5 to infinity. Okay. Negative infinity is going to be to the left, and positive infinity is to the right. Okay. Now with yellow, it's our constant. And we're just constant right here. Agreed? So where are we constant from? 2 to 5. We stop at 5, right? We start at 2 and we stop at 5. I'm not going to write it in yellow because that's just going to be real hard to see. So I'm going to do it from 2 to 5. Okay. 2 to 5. Okay. So that's what it means when it's just saying to describe increasing, decreasing, and constant. All right. Now our domain. State the domain of the function. All real numbers. This function goes forever to the left and forever to the right. So therefore our domain is from negative infinity to positive infinity. What about the range? Also all real numbers. That's because we're going from, it goes all the way down and it goes all the way up. There's no stopping. They are. Okay. All right. So what thoughts do you have about the intervals? Is there any relationship to the domain and range necessarily? No, your intervals of increase and decrease are totally separate from your domain and range. Does that make sense? Okay, your intervals of increase and decrease are not saying that these are my domain and range values. The main thing here is that they all are defined by your x values. Does that make sense? Okay, so our intervals are defined by what? By our x values. Okay, and did we use brackets or parentheses? We use parentheses. Okay, now I was taught that we use parentheses because you're not saying it's equal to something, right? I'm at 2 and I'm at 5, and at 2 and 5, I'm not increasing or decreasing. I'm just starting and stopping. Okay, so that's why we use parentheses, because I'm saying this is where I start and this is where I stop. I'm not saying I'm equal at 2. I'm not saying I'm equal at 5. I'm just starting and stopping at these values. So a bracket means that it's closed, that it's an included point. Yes. So like if I said, if this am I equal at this value, then it would be a bracket. Like there's a value there. I'm not asking for a value, am I? So therefore it just stops right there. Gently used right there. Okay. All right. Any questions about intervals of increase or decrease and identifying it? Fairly easy, doable. Okay.